a lot.
You guys, what's your take on making going backwards from bigger ice to smaller ice in the Soviet League, in the Russian League? All their new arenas are NHL size now. And when I grew up in the era of playing international hockey, it was a big adjustment to leave here, go there and play in European ice. You needed binoculars to see across the rink. But what's your take on that, Hal? Good, bad, no different?
I think it's a big difference. I think it changes the game. There's so much space, there's so much width and depth, and maybe it's okay for adults, for the higher end guys, but for young kids, I mean, that's just a lot of extra skating, and and for goalies who are used to cueing off of, have visual cues in an NHL rink.
Yeah,
they're all different in that rink because there's so much more width, and how does the face-off dots relate to the crease, and all that stuff, and as a coach, it looks like the kids aren't playing very hard, and it's just they have to skate further to get it anywhere. I mean, it's if you've got a good skating team, it's good because you got a lot of space. But most of the college rinks down here, the Gophers they downsized their rink. I was in there Monday. They narrowed that one up, and the reason that I had heard was because they play the national championship games typically in NHL rinks, and therefore they want to play and practice and recruit a team that can be successful in that size rink versus a rink that's got an extra 20 feet in width or whatever the differential is, 18 or 20.
15.
Is it 15?
I play on one tomorrow at noon.
Oh, do you?
I play on Friday at noon on an international size rink.
You guys will get all worn out.
I know. All these guys younger than me already, and then they got lots of space.
Yeah.
I got a question. Are the dots not the same? They're the same location, bigger, small ice.
Yeah, the dots are the same place. I'm looking at the rink right now. It's just wider. It's 7 feet wider on each side.
Yeah,
on each side.
7.5 feet wider. Yeah. You can see there's a lot of space between the circle and the boards. Comparatively.
The nets too, typically.
Yeah. Well, I just have one observation. When I went over to help coach the Spengler Cup, we had 10 North American college students, 5 from the U.S. playing in the NCAA, 5 from the CIS. And then we had 10 European pros. They were all Canadians. And we had to try to do the first drill, a double regroup by George Kingston.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do it. Big ice. They couldn't set gaps. They couldn't do the drill. Complete the passes to regroup and locate. They were out of sync. Yeah. So I had to take the D and actually teach them how to transition skate so they could move up and back and then laterally to set gaps. But coming from North America, just playing north-south and not really transitioning and coping with big ice, they couldn't play. They couldn't do the drill. And once we spent 10 minutes on their transition skating and backward striding, we went back to the drill and they could do the drill. So the thing I learned was you have to learn how to skate, and you do learn to skate better on bigger ice.
Yep.
Every time I played in Europe and came back home, I improved more because I played on big ice and came back home.
Sure.
I could
Sweden just scored to make it 3-2.
Who did?
Sweden. They just scored to make it 3-2.
Okay.
There's 13 and a half minutes left.
Well, that's a good point, Wally, on that stuff. I think for younger kids, I mean, I was watching a a squirt B team last night play, and it's an NHL size rink. It's too big for them. I mean, that's for them. That's the equivalent of playing on an international sheet. I mean, it's like
What
don't-
age is squirt? You guys got different names for.
yeah, that's on 10 and under. So
Do they not play half ice hockey?
no,
In Canada, we have half ice hockey up U9 and U11, it's whole ice.
wow,
So they play 4-on-4 half ice, 2 games on both sides, separate games.
yeah,
And it's sort of the model in Canada right now. 4 versus 4 half ice hockey. Coaches of opposing teams on the same bench, managing their bench,
yeah,
and they're working together in terms of matchups, hopefully, and
yeah,
the kids learn to play. And I've had to deal with, systems and sort of use the claw idea with 1D as, okay, that's a bit of a formation that you can play.
yeah,
But they get puck touches, they get to skate, and it's sort of been instrumental, I think, in raising the skill level of those young kids
yeah,
in developing them. And it really is all stemmed from USA Hockey's research where they monitored puck touches in half ice hockey
yep,
to whole ice hockey. And the number of touches, decisions being made in a smaller area contributed to more development. But when I look at big ice, Tom, I'm watching the NHL. We enjoyed the NHL game against Philly. Thank you for inviting me. What do you think? Should they play on bigger ice, or is that fine?
I think the ice is just fine.
Okay.
They increase the size. And I asked Brad, I emailed because if he's got any ideas. I said, I don't know that much about using the ice between the top of the circle and the blue line. They're using it all the time, all kinds of scissors and stuff like that. They increased it by 4 feet by moving the goal line back to the blue line out too.
Yeah.
And so I think that made a lot more room in the offensive zone. So I don't think they need to make it wider.
Yeah.
And that's why the Finland and Russia turn into the smaller rink. It's more exciting hockey.
Yeah.
It's not keep away so much.
I think some of the reaction that I've heard and thought is that the NHL rink's too small for the size and speed of today's players. Now, I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I know I've thought that a few years ago, but now I'm seeing them adapt and learning how to play. And by adjusting that ozone, like you say, Tom, you can have sustained offense because they've created more offensive space.
And they've also learned how to use the no red line. They didn't know what to do with, when they took away the 2-line pass rule.
Yeah.
And everybody played the same. But now, as soon as the wings see the D's toes up ice and control, they're down, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're so they've the way they play, they've stretched out the ice by the way they play, because before, with the smaller zone and the red line, it kept everybody more compact.
Yeah.
But now they're using a lot more of the space by the way the game is played.
Yeah. Now the NHL is changing the lines on the ice surface, increasing or reducing space behind the goal line or increasing it near the blue line. What about minor hockey? Is it just the same as it always was? Or
Well, some rinks have changed, but some rinks don't change because it puts the players box and, players are offside and that. So they still have it here. I noticed some rinks haven't moved the lines.
Yeah.
Like we do that one drill, but my zigzag drill where they skate from the blue line to the top of the circles, the ring out line.
Yeah.
some rinks it's pretty big, and some rinks it's hardly any distance at all because they haven't moved the blue line out.
And I guess it factors when you're coaching, you can't go low to high when you don't have that much space up top as often.
No, it
So-
doesn't create
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah, so you've got to know the advantage and disadvantage of how the rink is constructed and the lines are designed in terms of the space available and take advantage of what you can do. My biggest concern is when you're developing, and I'm talking, you know, U8s, U11s, which is whole ice. You want to learn and develop all your skills to gain space and time with the puck. And I don't care what they do without it, but initially they've got to learn to skate all directions without and with a puck. And the more room, the better. But there's more puck touches in half ice hockey and small area games. And Tom and I were talking earlier about one coach here at U15 doing 3 stations, all small area, and not doing any whole ice work. And there's a need to do both at all levels, not just, and you're locked into half ice, Hal. Do you
Well,
have whole ice?
yeah, we get full ice occasionally, but you know, then I only have 10 or 12 kids show up for practice, and you know, it makes it hard to, you know, when you only got two and a half lines on the ice, and you know, how much full ice can you do? And then of course we can't. I don't know what you guys get, but you know, if you're shorthanded, you can't ice the puck. It's a whistle. And,
Yeah, you can still ice the puck here.
yeah, and you can't, and there's no tag up offsides. So, like our game the other night, I mean, the wall clock ended the game with 3 minutes left on the game clock.
They love whistles, eh?
Yeah, the refs have the puck too much. I've heard USA Hockey is reconsidering some of these rules, but we'll see what happens. We won't know till June. But so as a coach, when you're working with these younger players, and if you know squirt kids can't ice the puck anyways, or the U10s, they can't shoot it that far. But the kids I'm coaching, which is 12 and under, they can. Okay, well they can't because it's against the rules. So they're supposed to be able to figure out how to stick handle or work their way out shorthanded until if they want to chip it down, they can. But then you miss all that stuff about how do you forecheck when you're, you know, all that stuff at the other end where you might be able to create an opportunity, and they have to learn how to set up on a team attacking on a power play coming back in. So they don't even get that till they're 14 and under. And then I had a question from one of my assistant coaches who's got a couple boys on the team, and he said, when are we going to start working on body checking? Because all these kids are going into Bantams in 6 months. I said, well, we will introduce